Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Faculty Focus. Today, we are joined by our Director of Bands, Dr. Kenneth G. Bodiford. Dr. Bodiford has been recognized locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally with the work he's done, making the Jacksonville State University Marching Southerners one of the best collegiate marching bands in the country. Dr. Bodiford, welcome to Faculty Spotlight.
Thank you.
I think that it goes without saying that everyone knows the reputation of the Marching Southerners. It's by far one of the best collegiate marching bands in the country, been recognized all over the world pretty much. Why do you think that the Marching Southerners have been so successful all these years?
Well, I think some of that success just comes with the continuation of directors for several years. The band since the 60s really, they've only been under four main directors. A lot of college programs will change directors regularly every 4 or 5 years, and I think that kind of hurts a program. And with the Southerners having the same directors for so long, I think all of us have stayed almost 30 years each. I think that makes a big difference.
Right. And I know that with COVID-19, we've all had to basically reimagine what our classes would be, whether it's splitting them in half, whether it's, moving the desk around to make sure we social distance, making sure the students are sanitizing themselves before, during, and after class and such. I know that's a tough thing, especially having as many students as you have in one place in such a short amount of time. So just curious as to what type of decisions did you have to make in order to kind of facilitate that whole idea of reimagining Southerners under this pandemic?
Well, I tell you, Rodney, that's probably one of the toughest things that I've had to face in my career because, when all the signs were pointing to the fact that we probably couldn't have Southerners the way that we all wanted, what we've become accustomed to for decades, it's a lot of pressure to have to break that news to the students, especially when you're dealing with, 500 students that have a vested interest in doing it the way it's always been done. But me and the other directors, we were watching every bit of data that was released from studies, especially for music majors and musicians. We were watching closely the results of the tests when a student plays their instruments, how much aerosol is released from their mouths, from the corners of their lips, how much aerosol is released from the end of their instrument through the bell. All of that was calculated and considered, nationwide in band programs. After we gathered the data, and of course things changed, I think we wrote the curriculum for the Marching Southerners this summer about 5 different times. But when we finally got close to school starting, we realized that it was not a good idea to hold band camp, pulling 500 students together and having them in a big clump for 2 weeks, working together. So we decided to go ahead and close or cancel camp. The OVC came out with the rule that the bands could not march on the field anyway. They could have, bands and cheerleaders were not allowed on the field during football games. So that played a lot in our decision too. We decided to split the band into 3 separate bands so that we could minimize the amount of students we're working with at one time. So that took our numbers down to about 150 per band. And even though those numbers are still large, you have to realize that our classroom is the football field. So we have a lot of room where we can spread out and make it a lot safer than, say, an English class that's crammed all into an indoor room, So we decided to break them into 3 bands, and we put out some, strict protocols for the students to follow. When they arrive at practice, they have to arrive with their mask on. They all report there's 3 different stations set up so that they have plenty of room to social distance. Our graduate assistants are there to take their temperatures. And then we have these posters that we've made with a QR code that they have to scan. And that takes them to a form where we collect attendance that way. But it also, collects their first, last name, their student ID, their temperature. They have to enter that, what section they're in, and which band they're in. And we ask them to stand in the same arc every day when they're working on music. So we know exactly who's standing by the other, who they're standing next to during rehearsals. This gives us a way to really track the kids quickly if someone, happens to go home one night from practice, start feeling bad, and they test positive the next morning. And we've actually had to use this information, so I'm glad we went that direction. When the students are at rehearsal, no matter if they're playing an instrument, if they're in the color guard, or if they're a ballerina, they have to wear their mask unless they're performing, unless they're playing their instrument, or if they're spinning their flag, or if the ballerinas are dancing, we let them pull the mask down so they can breathe better. When the instrumentalists stop playing, they pull the mask back up. The drummers, since they don't have to play an instrument with their mouth, they keep their mask on at all times. So that's kind of the plan that we've been using since school started. We did minimize the amount of hours because we usually practice every single day or a long time, every afternoon. But at this point, we're meeting one band per day, basically. We meet band A on Monday, band B on Tuesday, band B or C on Wednesday. Our color guard meets on Thursday evenings, and then our drumline meets on Wednesday evening. So we've kind of got things spread out throughout the week. The ballerinas do meet with the other bands whenever they meet on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But this has allowed us to spread everybody out and not deal with 500 people at one time.
And I'm sure that makes the students feel better knowing that there's, this plan in place to assure their safety while they're participating in such a large ensemble. And I mean, not just the students, but also the parents, who once had apprehensions and concerns about their freshmen, coming to campus and participating. I'm sure this gives them a lot of relief knowing that this safeguard is in place for them.
I think it does. And I was really surprised. We had several Zoom meetings with the students, before school started. And they had some really great questions. They were asking, how are we going to check in? How are we going to be safe? And they were very concerned about that. And that kind of made me feel good that they were concerned because, the students get such a bad rap with some things that have happened at other universities with them kind of ignoring social distancing. But I'll tell you, I couldn't be more proud of the band students, the way that they've adapted to these protocols and followed them.
That's great. Do you feel that with not being able to do a full-blown Southerner show like everyone's accustomed to seeing, do you think that is going to have an adverse effect on recruitment for the upcoming year?
I have to be honest with you, I'm worried, but of course, every year, my number one worry is recruiting for the next year. I think here at GSU, being a smaller institution, we're faced with a lot more challenges than some of the larger schools. And I feel like we've always had to work harder to recruit, students. But I'm hoping that if this is only a 1-year deal of us not being able to put on a regular show, that it won't hurt us that bad. We are doing a lot of things to try to keep the recruitment going. Of course, the directors are going out to the schools more often now, simply because we're not meeting with the band every single day. It opens up a little bit more time for us to get out and meet with those band directors and meet with those students face to face that, allow visitors to come into their schools. We're also putting together a lot of videos that we're distributing on all of our social media sites. We're putting together actually a little program to help out fellow band directors across the country. What a lot of people don't realize is a lot of our high school or middle school band directors, they've not been able to recruit for their programs either, because normally whenever you start a beginner band, the kids can come out and they try all the different instruments, they play them, and the one that they like the best, usually that's the one that they'll go with. But they have not been able to do that with COVID. So we're putting together a video of some of our Southerners that are in leadership positions, giving a demonstration like on their flute or clarinet and kind of making it fun for that age group, the 5th and 6th grade age group. And we're using the Jack State fight song as our tool, the common thread that all the students will play when they're demonstrating their instrument. Then at the end of the video, we're going to pull all of them together and actually play through the fight song so the kids can hear what it sounds like when all the instruments, play together. We're going to make that available nationwide to band directors all over the country so that hopefully they can use that as a tool to recruit beginners for their program. And, in turn, hopefully they'll say, hey, check out this group in Alabama. They did this for us. So we're trying a lot of different things. The color guard's going to get together, make a video that we're sending out over social media. The ballerinas are planning a showcase to do a little show for our community. So, we're trying our best to do everything we can to keep the recruitment going.
That's great. And you're also, I read, you're doing a little bit of preparation for 2021 in the spring. Is that right?
Yes, and that's been a really morale booster for our students. Right now, we're working on all the stand music. You have to realize that when we canceled band camp, we had no contact with our freshmen, prior to school starting. So we're having to teach them all of those traditional tunes that we play in pregame or in the stand. So we're trying to get everybody caught up right now, get all the stuff taught that we're going to be playing at the football game in the stands, teaching a lot of new tunes that we've never used before we're giving each band their own unique set of stand tunes that they're going to be playing. So in the stand, it should be very entertaining, hopefully, at that game. But after that game's over with, then we're going to transition into working on next year's show and starting that music. The color guard's going to actually go ahead and learn some choreography with the flags and rifles that we'll be using in the show. And so are the ballerinas. They're going to go ahead and learn some of the dance moves that they're going to be using in next year's show. So I keep telling the students, if we've got a whole semester that we can get a head start on the show, and plus I'm going to do some marching technique to go ahead and start teaching our freshmen our style of marching. If we've got a whole semester just about to work on technique and preparing for next year, they should just be off the charts good next year. Or at least that's what I'm hoping.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today about all of this. For more information about the JSU Marching Southerners, please visit the marchingsoutherners.org website, the Marching Southerners Facebook page, and our other social media outlets that will be listed at the end of this video. Dr. Bodiford, thank you once again for taking time out to speak with us on our Faculty Spotlight.
Thank you, Rodney. We appreciate all the time you put into this.